Hi, Sean Qualls here. Today we're going to review water policy, water laws here in Texas, and we're going to summarize with one of the very large issues and discussions related to the future of our Texas water. So let's get started. First, we need to review our usage of water. And presently, the information provided to us in our book shows that 59% of all water used in Texas comes from aquifers, which are underground pools of water. Now, of that usage up there, approximately 60% is used in irrigation, such as out in West Texas and the Panhandle of Texas, in order to keep all of the ground the way they need it to grow plants and what have you. The remaining water that we use comes from what we call surface water, which are sources such as rivers, rain reservoirs, and other types of hydroponics. 27% of the state's water usage is in the municipal areas, such as Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. For the most part, aquifers are our primary source of more than 1/3 of the water consumed by all metropolitan areas. And then we've reviewed how we use it. What we need to talk about are the laws related to how we obtain our water. And in Texas, water policy right now is pretty complicated. It covers everything from property rights in water to oil and gas. And remarkably, all of those areas have laws or statutes relating to how we obtain our water. What we're going to talk more about today is the state law, which is derived from three primary sources. One being Spanish law. As you know, Mexico at one point was all Texas, and Texas at one point was all Mexico. We also have English common law, and again, as I mentioned earlier, our statutory law, which is where we're going to focus today. Now, in 1967, the state legislature passed a Water Rights Adjudication Act, which took all of the previous water rights and put it under one unified permit system, which basically put us in a situation where we were able to identify and use one set of rules in how we obtain our water rights. Groundwater law is relating to water flowing or percolating underground, which is the aquifer, and that law is different than what we have surface law. As we mentioned earlier, surface law comes from different sources. In 1904, there was a lawsuit between Houston and the Central Railroad Company versus East. That lawsuit was based on how we obtained and who had intellectual or property rights to the water that was obtained. And out of that lawsuit came a term called law of capture, which basically states that the person who owns the land or first obtains the water has the legal right to that water. The reason that matters is that a person most of us have heard of at some point in time, a very wealthy billionaire several times over by the name of T. Boone Pickens. And Mr. Pickens purchased approximately 68,000 acres of land in Roberts County for the sole purpose of capturing water out of the Ogallala water aquifer, which comes from Nebraska through Oklahoma down into Kansas, Nebraska, Kansas, down into Oklahoma, and into Texas, where this Roberts County exists. The land that he purchased sits directly on top of almost what you would consider a central holding area for this Ogallala water aquifer. His plan is to take all of that water, hold it, stop it up as a dam, if you will, and then build a 250-mile water duct in which he will then sell the natural free water that is ours today for nothing back to us as water becomes scarce. And if you've been paying attention to all of the health and human services and acts and things like that, we're finding that in fact we're running out of water. So, as a good businessman, Mr. Pickens wanted to add more money to his bank account. But in order to do this, he had to get approval and laws enacted from the state legislature. So in 2006, Mr. Pickens spent approximately $1.2 billion to elect or re-elect legislatures that would support his goals. And in 2008, the Texas state legislature passed what we now know as the Water District Bill. This Water District Bill enables full control of all water rights as the land and under its ownership in a watershed district, which Mr. Pickens set up in Roberts County. So to summarize, the changes in legislation regarding our rights have been done and addressed all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court in a case, the Edwards Aquifer Authority versus Burl Day and Joe McDaniel, who were farmers who contested that Mr. Pickens had sole right to this water that was naturally everybody else's. And at the end of the day, the case was heard and 9-0 out, and it said that basically groundwater in place is owned by the landowner, even though it is able to be regulated by the state in groundwater production. This action came under existing oil and gas law, and what Mr. Pickens did was effectively got the argument in play that says whoever owns the land owns the water, and they can do whatever they want with it, up to and including capturing and reselling it at a cost. Thanks for the time. I hope this has been informative. Have a great day.